Okay. Here it is, March 12th, 2013, and we're going to sit and chat with Millie Gordon and listen to a couple of the stories of her life. Good morning. Here we are on the news.
Good morning.
Okay. Well, let's start with the early years.
Well, you were going to tell them when
Yeah,
I was born.
I am. I know that you were born in Mizpah, Minnesota in June of 1919.
Mm-hmm.
You were born to Signe and Eric Wick.
Right.
And you were the fourth daughter.
That's right.
And no sons. You were the honorary daughter.
No.
And I know that your mother was Norwegian and your dad was Swedish.
Mm-hmm.
And we could start there. What do you want to tell us? What can you tell us about your early years? What do you remember about those early years?
Well, I think being the fourth daughter, I think my dad really had wanted a boy. So all my life I was really a tomboy. I preferred being outside with him, with his tools and all the work he was doing. He was custodian of our school for years. And in the wintertime he was at home, we're taking care of that. In the summertime he was traveled the county. We had a county school system then. We didn't have private like we do now. And anyway, so it ended up that I was always the one that had to do the outside chores. And believe me, we had a lot of them at that time because we had wood wood stoves. So that meant Dad chopped all this wood and I carried it in.
Even as a little girl?
Well, as I was growing up, I mean, not when I was too young to do it. But my sisters always wanted to be in the house. They never wanted to be outside anything. So anyway, that was one of my jobs, was carrying in wood. But I used to be with Dad out in the shop, and I learned a lot about tools because he'd say, hand me this tool and hand me that tool. And that really helped me when I ended up in a hardware store years later. And another job that all of us had to do was help my dad at the school. We had to, after school, this is when we were in grade school. In Mizpah it was just grade school, 8 years there. When we were in grade school, right after school, we had to sweep the rooms. Each one of the rooms, we had certain things to do. And believe me, that was done before we ever left the school because that was part of our job. Mm-hmm. What other jobs did we have? I guess that was about the main ones.
And you lived in a little rural town in a small house?
Oh yes, and we had just a 4-room house really, and that's in this addition that held all this wood that I carried in all those years. Yes, just a small house.
A small town, wasn't it?
Oh, small town is right. We didn't have running water, of course. We had the well, but you know that well water was so good, much better tasting than any city water here. And an outdoor bathroom. Everybody in the whole town, well, in fact, that whole area, we had a small farming community on the outskirts of town. We sort of lived in town, but there were small farms all around. Everybody lived the same way. Everybody had lots of food because they had big gardens and they had their cows and so milk, and so did we. Milk and cream, and we churned our own butter.
Wow.
It was, everybody was in the same predicament. It was before I don't know if you call it the Depression at that time or not. I can't remember. It was just our way of living. It was wonderful. It was a good life.
Simple time. It
was simple and good life, yeah. So anyway, the one thing I can remember when Dad, when I was really tiny, we never bought toys. Nobody ever bought toys for their kids. I never even saw any place bought toys at that time. But Dad used to make he made, I'll never forget, he made a set of furniture, doll furniture for me. And he made it with the wood that came from the crates of the peaches and pears. They used to come in wooden crates. Now they're paper crates, but they used to be wooden crates. That's what he made those from. I'll never forget that. I kept those for years and years and years. And as far as enough,
Okay, stop.